on this. All right, my friends, we have today a new microphone. Let's see, people complained that they couldn't hear, that it wasn't loud enough. So here we have a new microphone. And if this doesn't work, we'll get a newer microphone. We're now finishing, with God's help, the Sikha of the Rebbe in Dvar Malchut, the words of the king. That's what's called Dvar Malchut. And if you remember, we're talking about why it was that the lots that were used to divide up the land of Israel, why they themselves had to scream out. The cards that were picked out, one had the name of the tribe on it, one had the area that tribe would get in dividing up the land of Israel. And there was the Urim and the Tumim, the breastplate verified that the results were accurate. And in addition to that, seemingly totally unnecessary, the lots themselves would scream out the name of the tribe and the area that they were on. So the Rebbe said the reason is because even though that those lots were only a means, they were not an end in themselves. They were a method by which the land of Israel would be divided up. And in fact, it wasn't really necessary to have them speak out, just to pull them out. That was good enough. You could see this tribe gets this area. And in fact, you might even think that the whole entire process wasn't really necessary, because there was the breastplate. It was good enough. And the breastplate, there were stones on there that would answer. They would light up. They would answer the questions that were asked. They would verify which tribe gets which place. Says the Rebbe, but nevertheless, it comes to teach us that the means to a thing, that the journey is no less important than the destination. The means that are taken are no less holy than the results. And there's every step of the way has to be done with total involvement, which in our case requires not just action and thought. They pulled out these two cards to indicate which tribe and which. Not only that, but it had to be action. Also, thought had to be behind it. There was the breastplate that told everyone that what happened was right. And there also had to be speech. So it had to be thought, speech, and action. And they all had to be according to what God wants. Because a lot of times people can think, I mean, let's get, a lot of times people think that the end justifies the means. And let's just take an example. People think they can lie, they can cheat, they can trick in order to get their goal. Right? The goal. And we see this over and over and over again, especially I remember there was once they asked, I'm a very big fan of Professor Viktor Frankl. I read a lot of his books, and they asked him, he once spoke in the Karl Marx University in Vienna. He writes, and they asked him over there a loaded question. They said, what political system do you think is best? Of course, that's the Karl Marx University. They think that communism is best. And, communism, the fact is it's very, very complicated and very, promising, certainly promising. And this is a whole university devoted to, developing his ideas and et cetera, et cetera. So they asked him which system is best. This must have been, they asked him probably in the 60s or whatever. And he said that all the political systems and economic systems, whatever, are basically the same. Their goals are basically the same. There should be, world peace and prosperity and harmony, etc. They have different means to go. The question is, right, what means are they willing to take in order to receive that end? In communist Russia, they had the most beautiful goals. The communism has the most beautiful slogans possibly of any other group. I think maybe even better than the church. Communism. And nevertheless, what are they willing to do in order to get this? I mean, like Stalin, for instance, killed 50 million people, they say, 50 million. And Shane, what was his name? The The Mao Zedong, they say he killed up to 100 million people in order to get that goal. So, I mean, of course, that's a big exaggeration, but on the other hand, the small exaggeration brings to a big one. If you get on in the station, you take the wrong train. So in the beginning, there's not much of a difference between the other trains. After you're on the journey for 10, 15 minutes is, basically not so, it doesn't deviate so much from everybody else. But finally, when you get to the end, one takes you to Florida and the other one takes you to California. So in other words, the every step of the way is tremendously important and must be done with great intention and involvement in thought, speech, and action. So, like for instance, a person gets married, right? So he gets married, and marriage is a holy thing. In Judaism, marriage is called holiness, kedushin. So a person gets married, he has certain goals, and his goals are, to have a nice house, a nice wife, have children. But what about in the way? What about things don't go exactly the way you want? Is the process itself holy? What happens if it becomes clear you're not going to get exactly what you wanted? What happens in, one of the partners becomes ill? Does the other person just leave him? Is the idea of just the marriage every instant, is it important? Or is it just a means to a certain end? And so you can say everything in the world. You open up a store, you make money. What's the purpose of money? So does it mean anything goes? And you can be vengeful and you can be angry and you can be this, do all these things which are according to the Torah are forbidden. You're not supposed to lose your temper. You're not supposed to get angry. It says a person who gets angry is like worshiping idols. You're not supposed to take revenge on people. You're not supposed to do this, but because of money and business, and what he did to me. So therefore, every step in the way is important. And of course, our goal is to bring Moshiach, but that doesn't mean that everything goes. And a lot of times it means you have to do things that seem to be counterproductive. It seems that sometimes the best thing to do is to, somebody's against you or says something against you, wipe the guy out. Don't let him in. Sometimes you have to be patient and you have to be loving and you have to be caring. You have to try to understand the other person's point of view, and you have to. And that's why also you can learn things. It says who's a wise person? Someone who learns from everybody. Okay, let's see 1 second. I got things here. There we go. Oh, let us go. There we go. Let's finish this beautiful Sikha of the Rebbe. So that's what the Rebbe says. That's what the Tzemach Tzedek, what the third Rebbe of Chabad meant when he told that Chassid that make here the land of Israel. The land of Israel, make it here. Where were they? They were in White Russia or something. Belarus, they were in Lubavitch. Make here Russia. Was he trying to discourage him from going to Israel? The Moshiach is not going to bring everybody to the land of Israel, right? Just forget the whole idea. Make here Israel, and that, no. You know very well that that's not the goal of the Jewish people, is to be in Israel, and that certainly nowhere else in the world can in any way compare to the land of Israel. But on the other hand, wherever a Jew is in the world, that's part of the means to the end. That's what the Rebbe is telling him. The whole thing is not the goal. The goal is to be in the land of Israel, but there's the means, the journey in the middle. And the Rebbe is telling him that journey itself, right? He's telling him something he didn't know. The journey itself is holy. And sometimes that's why we're here in the world, in order to make the most out of the journey. When that happens, we make the whole world as holy as possible. That facilitates, makes it, quickens the fact Mashiach will come and make all the Jews, bring all the Jews to their senses. They'll start doing Torah and the commandments, and then the whole world will start doing the 7 Noahide commandments. And then Mashiach, right? Mashiach, the Geula, the future redemption, will be here. Here we go. So let's finish this sikha, and then I want to start another sikha, a very short one, in Chelik Beis. Okay. This is where we are. Every single Jew has a portion and a obligation, a responsibility in the world that was given by God. We did this. Whether you're a working man, whether you're a working man, whether you're learning Torah, no matter what, no matter where you are, no matter what you are, no matter how far away from Judaism you are, no matter what the vicissitudes of life have brought you. Nevertheless, wherever you are, whoever you are, no matter what station you are, you have a responsibility from God to make wherever you are the land of Israel. Similarly, every moment, every hour, every day, every month, every year, every season, there is a certain different service of God, a different attitude you have to take. Every moment presents its new challenges and surprises, but it's our choice is to, our job is to choose to do the right thing and to say the right thing and to think the right thing. And that, of course, takes experience. You know, you're going to make mistakes, undoubtedly. The job is a very difficult one, but our job is to do our best, right? The job is not to succeed. The success, that's in God's hands. That's the goal. What we have to do is try our best. The means. So we make a few mistakes. We do this, so we learn from our mistakes. God forbid we do sins. Okay, you know, as I say, one thing that Hasidus teaches is that even no matter what sins you've done, you can always do tshuva. And no matter how great mitzvahs you did so great, you did everything, you saved the whole world, it's no big deal. Somebody else could have done it. Every second is brand new. Every second has its brand new challenges. Complacency can be our worst enemy. They have a lot of other enemies, but that's one of them. It says, even though that every person is different. We did that yesterday. Remember, a person can ask a question, since the service is some little part of the world, and who am I? I'm going to change the whole world. I'm just going to, we did this yesterday. The answer is, that's not your business. Your business is make here the land of Israel. Every instant of the journey is important, and every place is important, and every moment is, every person is important. That's part of the journey. Your service has to be not just in thought about how small I am, how insignificant I am, but what you have to be completely involved, thought, speech, and action in making here the land of Israel. Forget about how little there are, all the negative thoughts, the discouraging ideas. Who am I? I'm nothing. I'm a big loser anyway. And what's this Judaism's business? And who says it's true? And how this and this? Listen, how do you say, don't drink a cup? You know, the fact of the matter is that you're important. How do you know? Because God is creating you. And this applies also to a non-Jew, but the Jewish people have a special obligation. They can make a special effect in the world. Like we said, you see, they're always in Israel's always in the newspapers, always such a small, nothing place. So few people, everybody's it's already important what they do, what they think, what they say. And only by means of this, you can make in the whole world, and you can bring in the whole world, that the whole world will be, no matter where you are, you can make it ready for the land of Israel. Like it says about the dividing up the land of Israel, even though that every single tribe received a certain part of Israel, and every part was different from every other. But nevertheless, it says the eyes of God are constantly, it says constantly, this is the land that God's Eretz Asher Tamid Einei Hashem Elokecha Bo, that the eyes of God are on the land of Israel from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. What do the rabbis say? That every detail of the land of Israel includes in it all the other details. So, and also it's a known saying that says, everyone should say that for me the world was created. It's a Mishnah over there in Sanhedrin. It says that why did man create all of the animals and all the fish and all the birds and all of their hosts? And man, he created only one. Why? To let you know that every single person is a whole world. And that if you help one person, you're helping the whole world. and also the opposite. So one little person, come on, there's 9 billion people in the world. How many people in the world? 9 billion people. Hey, one person, it's 1 billionth. It's no big deal. Either I save the whole world, or I save the whole universe, or I save, or nothing. What I'm going to do is, no, it's not so. Every person is a whole world. And also, don't forget that you also are a person. Right? That you can change, you, by changing yourself, can change the whole world. Even though that a person might only be able to do one thing. Remember what we got up to last time. Huh? Where did we get up to last time? Okay, let's go. I'm sorry. Also the service of everybody, even the people. You can, how many talents have you got? How many abilities have you got? Maybe you're a very simple person. Maybe you have an IQ of 3 or something. Who knows what, right? It doesn't make any difference. You look, sometimes a little child who, I don't know if they have any IQ at all. I don't know if you measure an IQ. They smile at you. It can change your whole day. It can change your whole life. Right? You see a little child, the child says, oh, he smiles at you and laughs. Oh, it makes a difference, right? Maybe the child is not normal. He laughs at everybody. No, he only look at this. He didn't laugh at anybody. When he saw me, he smiled. Oh, this can change a whole person's life. Is worthwhile. I think I told you the story, but I'll tell it again. Also from Professor Viktor Frankl. He said he was a great psychiatrist also. And he said a lady called him, and he was his expert. One of his expertise is to prevent suicide. He was an amazingly successful in preventing suicide. Anyway, he said that once a lady called him up at 3 a.m. and said that she was going to commit suicide, but her friend told her to call up this professor before she committed suicide. So he was like tremendously tired. He worked a tremendously long day, and he had to be in the hospital. He was the chief doctor in this huge hospital, huge psychiatric hospital, polyclinic in Vienna. And the lady called him up 3 o'clock in the morning, and he had like 3 hours. He had to be back there again. So she was talking. He talked 15, 20 minutes. He asked a couple questions. And he said, listen, ma'am, I wanted to tell you something. Listen, I'm really, really tired. And I really want to hear what you have to say. But I can't really listen to you properly, and I can't think properly to say the right things to you. You know, what I've said to you now, I don't even know if it's the proper thing. Do me a favor. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning, come to my office. I'll tell you where it is. He gave her the address. Come to my office. I promise you won't have to wait more than 5 minutes. I'll get rid of whoever I am, and I'll listen to whoever I'm talking to, and and the lady said, okay. Okay. She said, please don't commit suicide until you talk to me tomorrow, 9 o'clock in the morning. I just can't think straight now. I'm just so tired. The lady said, okay, she promises. 9 o'clock in the morning, she comes to his office, and he tells the client that's with him, he says, yes, please excuse me. And he takes her into a side room. Yes, she said, I just wanted to tell you that I'm not going to commit suicide. Last night convinced me not. He said, listen, I was so tired, I don't remember what I said. What was it that I said? She said, you didn't say anything that had any meaning to me. But I thought to myself, if a big professor, can take out a half an hour in the middle of the night for some crazy lady and listen to some crazy lady, so maybe this world is not so bad after all. Like maybe the world is not so bad. In other words, some days he didn't say anything. He just gave her a little bit of time, a little bit of attention. We can never tell what can change the whole entire world. Movements for this, we can understand that each and every Jew, the Rebbe, of course, is talking to the Jews. 1 second. Yeah. From this, it's understood that every single Jew, no matter what, it is his purpose in the world. Yesh b'kocho la'sos kan Eretz Israel. He has the power to make here the land of Israel. The land of Israel, after all, is the land of the Jews. Al Yadeza, by means of this, every Jew can bring about the Kol Olam in the whole entire world a change for the better. Afilu im adam hu bal esek, even if a person is just a businessman and he's working in the world, the lo gaba b'beis knesset, it doesn't work in a synagogue. Ubemele yochol hu Lichor lachshov, a person can think, he can think. Is a sheikhas yesh lo, and Kedusha says, well, what connection have I got to the holiness of Eretz Israel? Right? He has some sort of a little tobacco shop in the middle of Idaho or something. And what's it got to do? He doesn't even go to shul. Once in a while, maybe somebody hears this speech. It says, this is Lechior Shaykh Davkila Beis Knesset Beis Mikdash. These things that I'm saying about making the world holy and everything, that's relevant to holy places like a synagogue or a place of learning or something. Hari Nosef Lazeh, in addition to that he can, first of all, give money to build a synagogue and etc. But also every single moment of his life, he can, right, by doing what is proper and being a proper person, a positive person, he's doing his best to make Eretz Israel. According to this movement, we can understand that every single Jew has an obligation to bring the redemption into the whole entire world. Don't think it's only the rabbis and only the holy people, only the Hasidim. Every single person has the ability and an obligation, responsibility to change the whole entire world. Don't say he'll do it or somebody else can do it and I'm all alone. Because by means of this, he can make his service his individual. If when a person does what he has to do in a complete way in thought, speech, and action, then even a little tiny detail of his life, even one moment of his life, and he's only in one little place of his life, nevertheless, that one little moment and that one little place has the power to transform that entire place to the land of Israel. By means of this, to transform the whole entire world for good. Oboses Peshutos in simple letters, we are now immediately before the total redemption. Therefore, every single Jew has to accustom himself that the redemption is here now. Because it's in 1 second, it's going to be by means of the transforming your day, your moment to a day, that moment of total redemption. What do it mean? What does it mean? Don't get mad. Don't get depressed. Don't have lust. That's refraining from bad and do good. Maybe say a good word. Maybe you remember a little sentence from the Bible, a little something from your prayer. Say Shema Yisrael. Do something. Transforming that little place, the land of Israel, by means of this, you do the service in that moment, in that place, by means of doing it with total involvement, like the Lots. They had thought, speech, and action. In thought, speech, and action, by means of that, you transform the world. As a result, from serving God in a complete way, by means of this expresses also, he expresses in his word what it says, Goral Hashem Medaber, that the Lots are speaking. Even since the Chador B'Pinimiyah, since that a person it's gone into his inside, into his soul, into his personality. This, the obligation in serving God, Asekan Eretz Israel, that wherever you are, you try to make it into the land of Israel and you're doing it with enthusiasm, a true enthusiasm, Chayut Pinimi. Medaber, it's speaking about Medaber who, then when he speaks, he will speak about this betoch chayos, gamim acherim, he'll be able to speak to other people about it. And he'll advertise what it says, Aseh Kan Eretz Israel, that every single Jew has to be holy. It's a b'nei beso, by his family. It's a krovim, by people that are close to him, relatives, friends. How much more so if he has pupils, until he can speak with everybody that he meets up with. So what are you supposed to speak about? How every moment can be and must be made holy. And no matter how insignificant it appears, I mean, that's the whole thing of exile, of galus. The things seem to be insignificant. The whole idea of geula is that every instant you realize that it really is significant. Every person is significant. Every place is significant. Everything is important. And the thing of exile, that we're in exile, is that it seems that nothing is important. I mean, God forbid, there's people that put an end to their lives from depression. Nothing is important. Nothing matters. Whatever. So since this comes from his inside, These, therefore, he's speaking words which come from his heart, and words that come from our genuine speech goes into the heart of others. Then this has its effect. And how much more so by means of this, that he shows a true example in his own service of God, until he brings about that everyone that hears him, listens to him, will listen to his words. Regarding to, okay, let's talk about what actually you have to do. Immediately, Motzi Shabbos, this speech was given on Shabbos. If Mashiach, God forbid, doesn't come on this Shabbos, this is Shabbos Mavorchin, the Rebbe was speaking. A person should advertise in every place where he is, in a place that's permissible, of course, after, in a way that's permissible to do. And we're talking about after Shabbos, the teaching, make here the land of Israel. And you should advertise this in not just Motzi Shabbos, but all the other days. Every second, every place, every person has the ability to make that second, that person, that place into the land of Israel until Mashiach Tzidkenu will come, and then he'll draw everyone to the land of Israel, really. In addition to, like it says, the fact that Eretz Israel is going to spread out to all of the lands. Especially what we're talking about, the serving God, where we say, make here land of Israel, is relevant, especially the idea of these 9 days. That's going to start not this Motzi Shabbos, but next Motzi Shabbos, right? Not this Shabbos, but the Shabbos above, Matas Maseh, which is the Shabbos after this one. That's the first day of. And on the first day of, there are laws. We'll talk about. There are certain laws there. Then you're really like not supposed to listen to music or anything that's Sabbath. Now also, but you're not supposed to eat meat. A lot of people, they don't eat meat. They don't drink wine. Others start from different. We'll go over the laws, God willing. This is the custom. La roch siyumim. It's also a custom to finish mesechtas of the shas every day of the 9 days, even when you're not eating meat. Some people, they make us if they finish a tractate of Talmud every day, and then they eat meat and wine afterwards to make up. Some people do that. That's permissible. In Chabad we don't, but other very proper Jews do. Rosh Chodesh, from the first day of until Tisha B'Av, until the 9th day of Av, which the 9th day of course, is a fast day like Yom Kippur, but in a ways more, okay, but Tisha B'Av, in an oven that's permissible according to the Shulchan Aruch. And some of the reasons are, in other words, when you make these siyums, don't make music, don't etc. Siyums means you finish a tractate of Talmud. One of the reasons is that since in these days, we are looking and trying to find all of the permissible ways how we can add on good things and joy. And by means of this, to reveal the inner good by Yerida Kashura Ayamim Elu, what is the good in these terrible times of exile that we're in now? Hechel, beginning with, so therefore, how do we fix it up? First of all, we have the Torah. Pekudi Hashem Yisorim Mitzam Chelev. That's what we said, that the laws of God are straight. You know, we learned about this in Torah oral and in Likkutei Torah. The whole rest of the creation is God has this chain of creation, but the laws of the Torah, they go straight to God. It's not a chain. And then by means of this, you can be happy with the Torah. And because of this, we remember when the mimer we just finished learning, that the happiness, the joy of learning Torah mitzvahs, that's the fat that's offered up on the altar in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. Therefore, you should try to make a siyum every single day, if possible, the first day of Av, the second day of Av, etc. May it be God's will. The Od Kodem Atchalat Yomim Elu, that even before these days will already come the future redemption, and will be, like it says, these days will be transformed too. These days will be transformed too. Sasan v'simcha l'moadim tovim, to joy and happiness, and to holidays. The Al Yadei by means of this, that the Jewish people are doing the service, what they say, make here the land of Israel, and they're doing it in a complete way, and they are to accustom us, to get us ready for the future redemption. Then we will come immediately into dancing a true dancing in the redemption. And we'll all come out with a tremendous dancing into the land of Israel, real land of Israel. And every Jew will take a portion of the land of Israel. The future, like it says that in the future, the land of Israel everyone will know their tribe, which tribe they came from. And it says that in the future, the land of Israel will be divided up into 13 parts. And it won't be done by the Kohen, it'll be done by God himself. HaKodesh Baruch Hu Mechalak Le'eman B'atzmo, God himself will divide up the land itself, like we said before, Atir Eretz Israel, that the land of Israel will spread out into all of the lands of the world. What does it mean? That everyone in the world will see that God is creating him, that he's special. That's what it means, the land of Israel. Tremendous happiness in the whole entire world. Okay, we have 10 minutes. I would like to do another sikha. We have another beautiful sikha here, and especially because, one second.